I know, but I can't have you all
In other
fired
words, get go. Let's
Yeah,
get
exactly.
started.
We only have a 30-minute
joke.
show.
Well, I gotta-
Enough fluff.
Bro, I'm trying to pace myself for next week. I got 10 hours of TV to do. We start with doubting the Bills. They are favored to win the AFC East, but there is a decent amount of skepticism around the team that lost their number one weapon and several captains. But Dawkins is pugilistically optimistic. Take a listen.
We're shooting for the stars. Like everybody is counting us out, which I'm cool with. You know, like we could fly underneath that radar and hit everybody with uppercuts.
Okay. Bills' notable losses this offseason, outside of Stephon. Gabe Davis.
The Gabe Davis one devastates, bro.
Brew loves
That's
that.
one of his guys.
I like Gabe.
Yeah, he
I like
does.
Jordan
really
Poyer. A lot of guys on defense. All right, so oddly, and this is confusing if you're just joining the show, Nick is the biggest Buffalo Bills hater. Are we going to say hater?
Truth teller.
Yeah.
It's not hater. It's not a hater. I've just been correct.
The only one picking them to win the AFC.
Yeah, I've just been correct year over year over year with them. And then we found out yesterday that Brew loves the Jets for the AFC East.
Well,
potentially.
official picks.
We understand.
You were saying Jay.
But you
sound like
did a
Fireman
whole
Ed
thing.
yesterday.
Wilds is a two-and-on guy. And so
Patriots.
and I now once again somehow get to be correct about the Bills. So I think that when it says doubt around the Bills warranted, I actually think their AFC odds are a touch high in that I would have Houston ahead of them as far as their odds of winning the conference. But if you are doubting whether or not they will win the division, and I think that there are certain folks right now that believe they could finish third, because if you believe in the Jets and the Dolphins, they have a lot of warm weather games early in the year. That to me is too much. I think that they have the benefit of clearly playing in the conference's worst division, potentially playing in the league's worst division, depending on what the NFC South ends up looking like as far as from their quarterback play in that spot, but definitively the worst division in the AFC. They still have, even though I think he can be overhyped at times, clearly the best quarterback in that division, and they have the stability of consistent double-digit win seasons that then we know how the story goes. They beat an overmatched opponent in round one, play a true contender in round two, and then lose, but they could have won, and it's very sad. That's the Bills' story. And so, yeah, right now I think they're a little underrated in that regard. They are clearly the best team in the AFC East. And so, yeah, I think doubting whether or not they'll win the division, Brew, is too much. Doubting whether or not they go to the Super Bowl, sure, that's fair.
No, well, that from the moment they let Stephon Diggs go, I've been saying I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender anymore. And then a lot of these other guys too. Their defensive backfield, you say they lose three guys in that, and leaders on that team. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Leonard Floyd is good for them. Like they lost a lot. The two best receivers, and then the defensive guys. I am not doubt. They're still a playoff contender and a likely playoff team. So that's where my doubt is. But here's what I'm looking at, Nick. First of all, I disagree that it's definitely the worst division in the AFC. Outside of Kansas City, now I do think Harbaugh will do well with the Chargers, but what if the Chargers aren't as good as many people think, and they lost a lot of players? I mean, the Broncos and the Raiders aren't going to be good. So you got the Chiefs, and you might have three non-playoff teams in that division.
That's fair. Some people believe in the Broncos because of Sean Payton, but go ahead. But I understand what you're saying, though. I tend to agree.
No quarterback.
I understand that. Yep.
And then, of course, the West, you got.
Well, the West is my division. But the South.
Yeah, the South. You got Jacksonville.
I think the South is going to. It has
Indy. Okay. I mean, maybe Indy.
And Houston good.
For sure.
Yeah.
But they're going to be okay. But we think the Patriots.
I think you have three playoff contenders in the AFC East.
Yes.
Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets. All right. So, but that said, here's what I'm thinking about the Bills. When their roster was like stacked these last few years, they haven't been able to get it done. All right, and I get it. They can't beat the Chiefs. They lost to them 3 times in the playoffs. But you also lost to Cincinnati at home. Like, they've had opportunities last year when the Chiefs are down and they lose by 3. That was a chance to win, and they couldn't get over the hump. Now I'm supposed to give them the benefit of the doubt when they've lost all these guys? And McDermott is a good coach.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced he's a great coach. So I just think the doubt is clearly warranted.
This is the graphic that we talked about yesterday or earlier in this week that we didn't put up. This is how they ended the year, Brew, and we were discussing it in the break, that Josh Allen had the lowest passing percentage in that span. So they basically turned into a running team and started to win. And granted, Josh was running some of those as well, so he's still very valuable. But do you think there's a reason to be optimistic about the way that this team is running, but no one thinks they're going to be? They still think they're going to be a high-flying team, and they actually might not be.
So I think that is actually a recipe to raise your floor and lower your ceiling. That's why I don't.
Cut out the mistakes.
Right, but if the Bills are ever going to prove me wrong as far as that they can win a championship, it's going to be because they lean on the strengths of their best player, who is their quarterback, and he rewards them by giving them the good without the "what are you doing" bad.
But he can't. But those guys can't exist in the same.
That's his growth.
But I guess my point is, if they're
do.
ever going to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs and then get to a Super Bowl and then win a Super Bowl, it's going to be because he does. It's not going to be because they are a ground and pound 12 personnel. And I do like both their tight ends. Do you agree with me, Brew?
Yeah.
That prevents the floor from falling out on you the way it was at the beginning of last year, but it puts a real governor on how great you can be.
That team, you never get that 13-second game with the Bills playing the way they want to play this year. You don't.
They lost.
No, I know, but they were in position to win it. If they just make a squib kick, maybe they win it.
I don't think.
I understand what you're saying, but I think, what does Mangini say? Before you know how you learn to win, you got to learn not to lose.
But I also.
This is a not to lose, which I guess.
Real quick, maybe that would have worked with the Bills 2 years ago when they had all the defensive personnel before Von Miller suffered his significant injury. You know what I mean? Maybe that is a smarter idea if you can have a defense the way the Chiefs did last year. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going to have a top 3 defense to lean on with that this season. I don't think.
Dak Prescott contract watch. Stephen Jones with some new intel and pretty optimistic. We are optimistic that we can get this done. We are having conversations with his agent and with Dak personally, and both Jerry and myself. He knows our goal is to keep him here. Okay, great. Brew, what are the chances Dak doesn't sign with Dallas? All signs pointing towards that he does.
I feel like it's becoming clear to me what's happening. In these negotiations, the Cowboys, because I listened to more of what Steven said beyond that quote. Mm-hmm. What they're trying to do is convince Dak, if we give you $60 million or whatever, we're not going to be able to keep the team together.
CD or
right.
Something. Yeah.
And so I don't think they're trying to get him to go below 50, but I think they're like, you got to give us some type of haircut so we can keep all these guys around you. Look at Mahomes. I think they're saying, look at Mahomes, not taking every last dollar that he can get, and they're winning Super Bowl. So they're hoping Dak bends to that, and I don't think that's an untenable pitch to Dak. Like, Dak isn't Mahomes, so I think that's fair, but Dak is also well within his rights, which it seems where he's going, like, I want every last dollar. And I think it's because he's a bit, I wouldn't say fed up with the Cowboys and the way they do their business, but I think he's like, I can go somewhere else. I'm not totally hitched to the Cowboys anymore. And so I think he's going to hold out for every last dollar. And guess what? I think the Cowboys are going to pay him before the season.
Good,
I think Jerry okay.
No, I have the highest paid QBs. If I'm Dak, and I agree with you, bro. Like, nah, man, I want 60.
Yeah,
I'm not getting Trevor Lawrence money. Don't try to give me Trevor Lawrence money.
So that's
at the same time, like, am I better than Lamar Jackson?
He's not better than Burrow, Jackson.
So that's the thing. I don't know where you want him to end up.
This is not about, my affection and correct evaluation of the Prince. But the Prince's contract has really screwed some things up for a couple teams. I think the reason Jordan Love doesn't have a deal yet is because of Trevor Lawrence. And I think one of the reasons Dak doesn't have a deal yet is because of Trevor Lawrence. Because I do think that those teams, when it was Joe Burrow up there, they were like, he's been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he was the number 1 pick. And you know what I mean? Team that was terrible, all of that.
Yeah.
The Herbert thing is was a little tougher sell, but at least you had Burrow on the top end. And it's like, look at what Lamar's getting. When Trevor got 5 for 275. Jordan Love, I know this is about Dak, and I'll bring it back to him. But Jordan Love's like, oh, one great season, one playoff win? Me too. So why would you not pay me? And so I think that because everybody thought Jordan Love would be done by now, and it's not. Dak is in even stronger position because he knows a year from now, I will hit true free agency. You can't tag me. You can't trade me. So I don't think it's going to get done, Brew. That's why. Because I think Dak is going to get an unprecedented
You don't
contract
think Jerry will cave?
No,
because that's been his history.
I don't think
All right, so how about this?
Yeah.
55, I'm going to give you $1 more than Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
55 and $1. Or you can get 60 from the Giants and maybe make the playoffs. We're the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, Giants are a bad example.
No, but
Giants
but it's not a bad example because here's the thing. Because the teams that would be looking for him, the Raiders, who have real history and it's in Vegas, the Steelers, a marquee franchise, the Giants, super marquee franchise, and by the way, with two of those, with Steelers, you would be with Mike Tomlin, and with the other two, you might be with Bill Belichick.
Okay, that's
so
better
like
then.
it's not like, oh, you're going to end up with the Titans, buddy. Right. Sorry, Titans fans. Like, good luck. There's real. Oh, we only have 30-minute shows. So.
Okay. 49ers roster, the best in the NFL.
This is the worst take of the year.
Wow. I have a nuclear bomb for you.
Okay.
I'm going to twist one of your own takes back on top.